Last time we saw Lyle, he had done a beautiful job of creating a billet of Damascus steel for us that came up to around 100 layers by the time he was done forging it together. Now he's ready to make a ring, and he's going to use a lathe to do that, but there's a few steps in between that we don't know about. How do you get that beautiful billet into these cool little rod shapes here? So give us a little explanation of that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So where we left off, I had made a pretty uniform square bar of Damascus steel with 100 layers of different types of steel all welded together. At that point, if I had turned it into a ring or a knife or something, then there wouldn't be as much organic patterning in that material, and you won't really necessarily show off the full potential of the material. So in order to make that knife or that ring even more attractive in the end, I intentionally manipulate the bar of Damascus to bring even more of that pattern out and bring it to the surface. So a pretty common technique that I use to do that is essentially just twisting the bar of material. I heat it up to about 2,000 degrees, clamp it in a vise, and then grab the other end and twist it as tight as I can to get that pattern that's inside of the bar distorted and twisted all around. From there, I take my twisted bar and put it in some special dies, and I essentially am just trying to get this to a uniform shape so that the pattern will kind of be predictable from part to part, and also so that I can put it into the lathe and do the machining that I have to do. When the bar is nice and round like this, I can essentially clamp it in the lathe, cut a hole inside of the material, and then cut the dimensions on the outside. And using the lathe, you can essentially make any size ring that you need.
Okay, that's really nifty looking. So you're going to take which piece for us and put it on the lathe?
I'm going to take this one,
okay,
which I've started, this used to be a little bigger. I've started making rings from this piece, and I'm going to make a large men's band just with the end of this bar on the lathe right now.
All right, let's go. So you just chuck it up.
So we chuck it in the lathe. Sometimes holds it there. Then, first operation is to face it.
So you're facing the cut surface.
Yeah, I'm just kind of cleaning that surface and making it nice and flat.
Right.
Cool. So now there's kind of a nice clean surface to start working with.
So this is going to be big enough to get another tool in there to start cutting.
Yeah.
You're drilling the steel, you use a little bit of lubricant, but you also have to do some, it's like kind of by feel.
Yeah, it's kind of by
much
feel.
Pressure and speed to use.
Yeah, and that oil kind of just helps keep the drill bit from overheating and getting dull. Yeah. this point, the hole's kind of started, and I'll at this point usually check the dimensions and see where I'm at, and then I'll know how much more I have to take, how much more material I need to take off to get it up to the right dimension. I like the dimension of the hole, but it's a little thick. So what I'm going to do is, using this other tool, cut away the outside of the bar to thin down the dimension of the band.
Okay.
Almost there. Just going to take a little more off.
Here's some of Lyle's interesting reading. A museum of early American tools, the complete modern blacksmith, and nail making, which is probably a real nail biter, yeah? So you got your ring
So
on.
here's our rough ring.
All right, look at that.
That's solid Damascus steel, although you wouldn't know it right now. But inside of there is all sorts of patterns, all welded and twisted together, and all of that pattern will be revealed in the finished ring.
How do we reveal it? Is that the next step?
No.
No? No. You have to wait?
You gotta wait.
Okay.
This ring in this hand has been machined on the lathe,
Right.
and you can't really see any patterning on the surface.
Correct.
This ring has been made in the same way, but has been polished and then etched in acid,
Okay.
so that the acid eats away some layers of the metal and leaves other layers unaffected. And then you actually reveal what's going on in the material.
Right.
So before it's etched, sometimes it's hard to see what the pattern is actually doing.
Yeah.
And some of these rings are ready for liners. They're although they don't look finished, their profile is done. They've been etched. They're essentially ready to have a liner fit and then all of the polishing done to them.
Okay, Lyle is doing math.
So remember when you wondered when you were ever going to use your math class in your professional life, and when you were going to use geometry or pi?
Yeah, I use pi.
It was right now. So by measuring the inside of the ring, I can figure out how long to make a piece of silver. So that when the silver is wrapped around into a circle, it fits exactly inside here.
So that's you need an exact ring blank.
Yeah.
Oh, look at these pretty knife blades here. Look at that pretty knife blade. There's the tang. The whole thing is Damascus, but
Yeah.
he hasn't etched the tang, which is the part that goes into the handle down here, because you don't need to. It's going
all
into the
gonna be
handle. But so you've hollow ground this here too. Look at this neat.
Yeah, you can see the bevel.
Yeah, I like
and
like
this knife construction is interesting because you have Damascus on the
Oh,
sides.
I see.
And then solid tool steel as
Now,
the
did you
core.
laminate and sandwich those?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes for a really pretty knife and a really functional knife.
Okay, next step.
So now I have my silver sheet. I have it marked out with my dimensions. So now I'm gonna just cut this to my marks.
Lyle's really fancy, and he used a huge bench shear.
Yep. We
I
could just
would-
use scissors, but
I would have to use my saw.
I try not to use that. I can help it.
A little filing to get your edges, so you'll have a nice butt seam, I suppose.
Yep. A nice flat file. So all I'm doing is I'm adjusting the dimension and getting those edges nice and flat and square and clean. So I'm pretty close to what my math said I needed to be. So I'm gonna say that that's
There's no
good.
excuse. You have a digital caliper, dude.
No excuses.
Are you kidding? You do it standing up?
Just cleaning the joint.
Okay. That kills me.
So now they're just the surfaces are cleaner than
Okay.
before.
Standing was essential to that step, I think, right? Oh, you have a little bender.
This
Very
thing
nice.
is awesome.
I love that.
So this will help me make my ring blank
Oh yeah, perfect.
and get these joints to line up.
Yeah. A lot of gas splitters, and oh, I love that. That's
Little pieces of solder.
pretty big scissors for little teeny cuts.
Yep.
Okay.
So I got some little chunks of solder there. Get some flux on them.
Okay. Hell, I was just going to heat it up and solder it like a normal goldsmith or silversmith.
Nothing too crazy.
Just going to preheat the solder, put it on a funky solder pick.
Yeah. Handmade solder pick.
It's big. Set it on the seam.
So hopefully you don't have to bleep out any bad words.
Don't worry, I can do it.
We went from forging,
Well, you do change scale
8
here.
pounds
Yeah.
of hot steel to picking up
Minute bits of
little
solder.
teeny pieces of
I
solder.
admire your ability to switch scale.
Yeah, it wasn't easy at first.
So he flipped it so he could draw the solder toward the heat on the opposite side of the seam.
Yeah.
There you go.
When I see it shiny on that side, I'll stop. Then I'll clean this, and then I'll do a little fine tuning before I put it in that ring.
Okay, cool. Gone back to his standing technique of using a flex shaft, but
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it, folks. It's not good for your posture. It's because he doesn't do small scale work all day long. He gets to move around and use his body in far more proper ways, so he can afford to do this. That nice tool steel spark he's got there. Love it.
I have the liner made and cleaned up, and I have the ring ready, the Damascus ring. So what's going to happen is I'm going to set them together, and I'm going to press fit the silver into the steel.
Okay, neat. What's your tool? Just a little
I'm
vise?
just going to use a vise because it goes nice and slow. You can use, I've done everything from hammering them in
Right.
to using a hydraulic press.
But now you're using a little copper protection sleeve.
Yeah, I put copper there. It needs to go in without crushing the silver.
Right, and causing any wrinkles.
Yeah, so you don't want it to wrinkle.
Okay.
So I go in one way, and then I'll usually put a spacer in and push it in a little bit further. So
A spacer.
a spacer that is a little bit bigger than the silver, and I end up using usually just other rings that I have lying around. And let's see if I can find one.
Yes. The
Yes,
special bench trick of using another ring to be a
Another-
spacer.
finished ring.
Very good.
So
You have to figure out your craft, and this is
yeah,
amazing
instead of
that you've done
making
this.
my own spacers, we just usually make shift ones. Okay, so then I can.
So he set an extra ring in there to be a spacer, so the narrower ring is the actual ring we're lining.
Yep.
And the bigger ring is just a spacer so
I
that the
can-
liner can go past the thickness of the original ring,
Yeah.
correct?
So I'll have about probably 1.5 millimeters on each side. So you can see it's starting to come through.
Yeah, that's great.
So now I'm just going to do a little bit more.
Okay. Oh, that's very clever.
Yeah. Because the fit can be pretty snug, I don't like to hammer them. I'd rather go slow like this and just push it in there. And then
Kind
you
of
can.
finesse it in.
Yeah. Hopefully roughly.
So you're trying to get it equidistant?
Yeah, you want it to be equal all the way around. So if I notice that one side is wider than the other,
Yeah.
I can adjust it, or I can sand it down a little bit.
Okay.
We're looking okay. It's not
That's
too
good.
bad.
Okay. Okay, now Lyle's got some dapping tools that he has specially prepared with a flat. Oh, I see. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, go ahead.
So what we're going to do
Love
is
it.
essentially expand the silver ring around the steel. I'm going to just gently tap this liner little by little.
With a dapping tool, that in this case you flatten your dapping tool on the end, which is
Yeah,
an unusual
it just
thing
gives
to do.
me clearance in case
Yeah.
the ring is really narrow.
Yeah.
I don't want the bottom of this tool to hit the anvil.
But
so,
you could use a regular dapping tool. Okay.
Yeah. I just like to go back and forth, especially at first, and make sure everything's looking okay. You don't want any, well, you don't want anything uneven, and you don't want it to go too quickly. You can hurt that liner if you're not
Yeah.
careful.
Back and forth. Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So then at this point, I usually switch over to one of my favorite hammers.
Oh, wait, what's this?
This is a
Oh,
2
tiny
ounce,
little ball
This
peen.
is a 2-ounce ball peen hammer
Okay.
that's been polished.
Nice.
And it's very good for getting into tight
Oh, you're just
spaces.
manually hammering your edge. Oh, that is so cute. That's something we would do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I also go from one side to the other, making sure everything's fitting okay, and essentially forming that liner evenly all the way around.
Wow.
Because this is silver, it's really nice to work with, and goes pretty smoothly.
Yeah. What gauge are you using in your liner?
They're usually anywhere from 20 gauge to 24 gauge sheet metal, and sometimes people want a really heavy ring, so I'll use thicker. Sometimes my standard ones are a little thinner.
Huh. Wow. Okay. That's very cool. Well, I'm impressed. You got the finesse to go from big to small.
Yep.
Nice.
So then you're just looking, you got to make sure that it gets, the liner lays flat all the way around. So it takes a few cycles of this to get it to fit good. Essentially, I've got that liner flush with the steel on the sides, but it's obviously sticking up above the top of the ring.
Yeah.
So the last stages will be by hand filing down that silver and making it flush with the steel, and then
Okay.
polishing it.
And polishing it. And then you finish these with a Scotch-Brite or something, don't you?
Yeah, they're finished with fine sandpaper on the outside, and usually fine sandpaper and a little matte finish on the inside.
Wow, Lyle, this has been super great. I love the whole scale of everything you're doing, from large to small, and the innovation you've come up with. Do you have a finished piece we can take a peek at?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so here's the ring Lyle was working on the left, with the liner not quite finished and sanded into place yet, but the ring next to it, the wide band, has a beautifully finished liner. And then the one on the right has a beautifully finished liner of mokume, which in this case would be sterling silver and palladium white gold. And the effect is truly spectacular. Any last words?
Well, thanks for hanging out and seeing what it takes to make a ring from start to finish. And I hope you guys can appreciate everything that goes into them. And Hope you make it down to Trios to see him in person yourself.